Hello, everybody. Happy Monday. Welcome to this general overview of Ellii webinar. My name is Kylie. I'm the lead teacher trainer here at Ellii, and I'm excited to share with you more about the Ellii platform today. I see a lot of people have already joined in and even written in the chat. I'm so happy to be here with you. It's morning for me, but maybe it's afternoon or evening for you. So this is how I'm starting my Monday. I'm just going to wait for a few more moments for some other people to hop on, but I will share a couple of things as we are waiting. So I already put this in the chat, but everybody who registered will receive a recording of this webinar. And so if you're not able to make it live or you need to hop off, we'll send that out later today. And throughout the webinar, if you have questions, please pop them in the little Q&A chat on the right-hand side of your screen. Under the chat, there's a little question mark. That will help me see the questions come up easier since the chat kind of gets filled up sometimes. So try to use the question box if possible. And as we're getting started, I would also love to know in the chat where you are joining in from, where you teach or what you teach. Would love to hear from you as we're getting started. So I will take you through the basics of the platform. We'll take a look at our content at Ellii, ways to stay organized, and some of the tools that can help you as well. So we are ready to get going, ready to get started. And again, if you need to hop off early or you're joining late, you will receive a recording of this webinar. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to share my screen here. Usually just takes a moment here. And now we are on the Ellii platform. So just a little bit of overview of Ellii. We are a content library full of ready-made resources, lessons, materials, and courses for English language teachers. You might have known us as ESL Library for many years. Our name changed to Ellii in 2022. So we are that content library, and we're also a learning management system. So you can set up classes, invite students, assign them lessons, courses, materials in the platform, give them feedback, track their progress, and really get some different types of reports about your students as well. In addition to being a content library of thousands of ready-made lessons and resources and that learning management system, we are a publishing company. So we're always releasing new content every week. And that's what you'll see a lot of the times on our Discover page here. This is a great place to start if you are new to Ellii and you want to just see what we've been up to or what we're showcasing. So you can see as I'm scrolling here, we have some Ellii picks. So maybe some of our timely materials or lessons we want to highlight. We've got some discussion starters lessons here, which are fabulous for intermediate to advanced teens and adults. We'll take a look at that content today. We always try to highlight some of our help docs on our Discover page too, because there is so much to the platform. We've created a series of help docs and videos to help you navigate better. And I'll show you where to find those other ones on the platform as well. We usually showcase a poll or a dilemma, which are some of our gamified activities that we have on the platform. Polls and dilemmas were kind of like Kahoot, where students use a device to join in and it spurs conversation and dialogue. And polls and dilemmas are free for everybody, regardless if you have a paid Ellii subscription or not. You can still access those and do those with your students. And so usually we showcase one of those on the Discover page. Of course, some grammar videos, which you can also find on our YouTube page, and some highlighted lessons from our That's News to Me lessons section. So we have a partnership here at Ellii with Reuters, and they give us permission to adapt some of their news articles and pair them with a lesson for English language learners. And in many cases, we have these lessons in many different, or multiple, I should say, levels. So it's a great way to differentiate. And the topics span worldwide topics, and news from all over the world. And so sometimes we showcase some of the latest here on our platform, on our Discover page. And down at the bottom is where you're going to see something called the What's New banner. And I'm going to click in to show you a little bit more. So like I mentioned, Ellii is a content library and we're that publishing company. So we are releasing new content every week. And so in our What's New collection, we've broken it down month by month, and you can find the latest that way. So I'll click into April to show you a bit more. When I click into this collection, you'll see here, I'm viewing it as a list, and I can scroll down. A lot of times on the platform, if you're viewing a collection or a series, you can toggle here to grid view, which I like a little bit better. So that's why it might look a little bit different in your platform, the list view or the grid view. And you can see here, we have 40 new materials or updated lessons or courses here at Ellii. We're currently building out our Ellii Up series, which we'll take a little bit of a look at today. And then you'll also see, of course, some of the latest lessons from the That's News to Me lesson section. So the Artemis launch, and then some others as well. And so this is a great way to just check out the latest at Ellii and to see what we've been up to. And I'm just scrolling to show you a bit more, and it goes on. So if you're new to Ellii, definitely just explore our Discover page, our What's New collection, to see what we've been up to and see if anything stands out for you, for your students. A couple of things to note if you're new to Ellii, some things you can do to set up your platform in a way that helps you find content easier is updating your level preferences. So I'm going to show you how to do that. When you log in, of course, you come to the Discover page, and you're going to go up to your little account icon in the top right-hand corner here and click on Account. That will take you here to your general account information, your name, country, all of that. And as you scroll down, the first setting that you'll see under settings here is your level preference. And by default, it's going to be set to the our Ellii leveling system, which is pre-beginner to advanced. If you click edit here on the right-hand side, you'll see we have some different options. We've got CLB, CEFR, ELD, NRS, and Ellii levels. So I'm going to turn on the NRS levels. That's what we use commonly here in the United States, which was where I'm based for adult education. And I'll click Update. Now, if you're teaching K-12, you also can turn on the K-12 grade bands for applicable content. I'll leave those off for now. And you can turn on the English language proficiency standards. So I'm going to toggle those on. And so when we're navigating the platform and the lessons, you can see the ELPs that are linked to those lessons. A couple of other things to note, I'm going to scroll down here. I'm on an admin account of an organizational account at Ellii. I'll talk a little bit about what this means later on, but I do want to note if you are an admin of an organization account, we have some new features that we've recently launched. One of them being the student inactivity timeout. And this is where you can choose where students are automatically logged out if they've been inactive for a certain amount of time. I've got it set to 15 minutes here, and I'll leave it at that, but you can change how you see fit with these different time options. Additionally, something we're excited about that we've recently launched is the ability to track proxy hours. So this is really relevant. I know I was an adult program director, and we needed to track time students spent in the platform in class and outside of class, so synchronous and asynchronously. So this is why we launched proxy hours. This is very important for some programs when they're tracking their students' time. So I have that toggled on, and that means now whenever the students in my organization are logging into the platform and into a lesson for the first time, it's going to choose, are you studying in class or outside of class? And that will help guide the time tracking a little bit better, and it will organize that so you can have those time reports. So those are a couple of things to note before we get started. I'm going to take us back to the Discover page here, and we can dive into content now. So I mentioned Ellii is a content library, and you can really think of us that way. You're going to find things on the platform that are great for young learners and content that's great for adults. So it's all about knowing where to look on the platform and knowing ways to keep yourself organized and keep track of things that you love on the platform or lessons. So I'm going to first show you materials, and you'll find all of our content on the platform under our Everything menu here. And before I dive into the content, I just want to note this is where you see anytime you need anything, you click everything. And that's kind of the idea. On the left-hand side, you're going to see planning and prep. This is where your classes live and where you can invite students. It's also where you can keep track and create folders. So folders are a great way to stay organized on the platform. If you see something you love or want to come back to it, add it to a folder and you can easily find it again. And then also flashcard sets. So we've got almost 6,000 flashcards on the platform. And so you can create your own sets or use our pre-made sets and edit them to see fit for your use. So that's the way to stay organized, is under planning and prep. And then materials is all of our content. And like I mentioned, we've got thousands of lessons and we have them organized and grouped to make it easier to find what you're looking for. We're first going to take a look at our courses and our study packs, which are groups of lessons and materials. So I'll click in there. And we've got two types here: courses, which are a bit more comprehensive and can be taught in a sequential order. Oftentimes they include an assessment or sometimes even 2 assessments. And then study packs are anywhere from like 3 to 6 themed lessons or materials that you can teach in any order, but are related in some way. And one really exciting thing that we've launched here recently at Ellii is our Ellii Up series. And this is our 4-skill course series that you can almost treat like a textbook. It can be used as your core curriculum. And you see here that we've built it out from beginner, and I think we're all the way to advanced here, or high intermediate. We're at Ellii Up U. And each of these courses, I'll click into Ellii Up Q, for example, contains that series of lessons and materials and that mid-course assessment and that final assessment. So you can assign these to your students and follow a sequential order, and that will help them stay on track. It'll help you stay organized as well. And a couple of things to note in our Ellii Up series. I'm in Ellii Up Q right now, which is NRS level 4 or intermediate, similar to intermediate. You'll see the materials list. You'll also see this overview tab. This gives you an idea of what this course entails, like the skills, obviously, the different skills, the grammar targets, and the learning outcomes as well. So this can really give you a bird's eye view of what you're going to cover in this course. Additionally, it shows that students typically need about 15 hours or more to complete this course successfully. So this is something you could use, over the course of a couple of weeks, depending how often you are meeting with students. And then there's also this teacher's note tab that we have here. This gives you a recommended progression and also the scope and sequence. So you can see here, this scope and sequence is for Ellii Up General English courses, levels M through R, the low intermediate courses, and it shows you the grammar focus, language functions, and vocabulary and themes for all. So that's how you can kind of stay organized, see what's coming up next, and see if this is a progression that you'd like to follow with your students. So if you're new to Ellii, I definitely recommend checking out our Ellii Up series to help save you some time and know that you're following in a sequential progression there. So those are a little bit about our general English courses. We also have some other types here. I'm scrolling down a bit. Some grammar courses just focused purely on grammar, starting out with grammar groundwork, and then growth, and then genius, and then also some different types of study packs here that I was mentioning. So you can see here, these study packs are related around a particular grammar function, perhaps, and some other types as well. So definitely a place to explore if you're looking for groups of lessons and materials that you can teach together. I'm just going to scroll back up here. And I do want to highlight another type of course series that we have here at Ellii, which are our workplace courses. And these are relatively new. We really worked on these last year, and going into this year, we're adding even more. And these are to prepare adults for the workforce. So we have a lot of courses around allied health. So you'll see English for nursing assistants, dental assistants, medical technicians, and more. You'll also see English for construction workers, custodians, landscapers, and truck drivers. I know at least in the United States, there's been some updates and some changes with the requirements for getting your truck license for driving a commercial truck. So we built a course to help support that. And these courses are really meant to get students familiar with the type of English that they'll experience in these fields. It's not meant to teach somebody to be a home health aide or a medical assistant. They're all dialogue, contextually based. And so students can practice their English in the context of these professions. So these are great, especially if you have students with different career goals. You can assign them particular courses within the platform and use the materials that way. So those are our courses and our study packs. So those are the groups of materials and lessons. I now want to take you into lessons and highlight a couple of different ways to stay organized there. So I'm going to head back up to everything, and then I'll click on lessons here. And that will take me into our lesson section index. So this is where you can find one-off lessons around particular themes and in our different lesson sections organized here. You'll see at the top that we've broken it down by genre here to make it easier to find what you're looking for, but you're also able to scroll here. So you can see our topic-based lessons first, discussion starters, which I mentioned earlier, our That's News to Me lesson section, which is our partnership with Reuters, famous people, places, things, which are great for teens, life and work, fabulous for adults, especially preparing them, being out in the world, speaking English, experiencing English in a safe and supported environment. I love everyday dialogues. That's why I have it pinned here. Whenever you're navigating the lesson sections and you click into one, like for example, let's click into real world reading. You check it out, and maybe this is a section that you always come back to and you want to keep track of and remember. You can click pin, and now whenever you're navigating the lesson sections, when you click your pinned genre here, those pinned sections will be there right for you. So it's a way to stay organized, keep track of what you love. I kind of got sidetracked a little bit there talking about pins, but it's a good way to stay organized. So like I was mentioning, life and work, great for adults. Grammar, wildly popular lesson section. Our fun grammar lessons are fabulous for children and like middle school students. And then grammar practice worksheets are wonderful for teens and adults. So those are some pretty popular lesson sections. We have a whole genre here for adult literacy, and we recently launched a series here, the first 5 series, which is built for adult literacy students in mind. And I'll show you a little bit what I mean in just a moment. Vocabulary and pronunciation, and then a genre here for young learners. So if you're teaching elementary school, you can check out our young learners genre organized here for you. Some picture stories with Benji the bear. Those are pretty fun. I even used the picture stories when I was a teacher with adults because they're just fun and they come with a little video and they're just a fun way to start or end class. Fun grammar lessons, super simple grammar, discovery, and some more. And so I first want to take you into our first 5 series, which is our series for adult literacy students. And when you click into a lesson section on Ellii, you come to all of the lessons within that section. And specifically here, this first 5 series is built with adults in mind. So we found that a lot of the content in the literacy space was geared towards children, where we wanted to create something that was really intended for adults, using real pictures, accessible text, lowering that affective filter a bit. So I'll show you what I mean. I'm going to click on the jobs lesson to show you a bit more. And this will be applicable, even if you're not teaching adult literacy. Me showing you right now the PDF and the digital task player will kind of give you a better sense of what our lessons entail at Ellii or how they're set up. So I'll click here on the open PDF, and it takes you into this lessons PDF. You can see here, this lesson starts out super simple and approachable. What do you see? Students might say, man, happy, math, some simple language there. From there, it builds on. And why I'm showing you this is to share that oftentimes in our PDFs in Ellii, there's many different tasks, and you can kind of pick and choose what's best for your students, knowing that you can select and you don't need to do it all, let's say. One thing I'll mention is that there's always an answer key towards the end of every PDF lesson at Ellii. So even for very simple lessons to very more advanced lessons, you can find that answer key for yourself. And another thing I'll mention, and I'll go back to one of these tasks here, I'll do this or that, is that we have some PDF tools. So when you're displaying in class, if you're displaying in class, whether you're teaching virtually or in person, you're able to zoom in and out on the side here and use our different pen tools to display and interact with the PDF. So that's a PDF viewer right here. We also have the ability to type on the PDFs as well. So that's a great way to display the material is with the PDF, and students can have it in front of them. Some other things to note is that there's different versions of the PDF. So you can see here for this PDF, we have a US version and a Canada-based version. We also have a teacher and a student-facing option. The student-facing option is very much similar. In this case, it just doesn't include the answer key or the printable flashcards there. So something to keep in mind. So that's our first 5 series. I'm going to show you the digital task player when we look at a different type of lesson in just a few moments. But let's say that you really like this lesson and you want to keep track of it, and maybe you haven't set up a class in Ellii yet. You're just navigating the platform, wanting to find things, keep track of them. You can add this lesson to a folder. And you'll see this little folder icon here, and you can click Save to Folders. And here's where you can create a new folder in real time. You'll see I already have this lesson saved to a folder. That doesn't matter. I can still set up a new folder. So I could say Beginner Materials here. And then I can click it and save it. So that's a way to keep track of materials on the platform, is creating a folder and adding things to it. Another thing I'll mention before we look at a couple of different lessons is that when you're on the lesson landing page right here, right, we added it to a folder. You can also add it to a class. If you scroll down, this is where you'll see the focus, the vocabulary. I have those English language proficiency standards turned on so I can view those as well. And then I'll also see related materials. So if I'm looking to find other content that I could pair, that would pair nicely with this lesson, I can scroll down and find some lessons there. So that's really the gist of a lesson in Ellii, the PDF side of things. I want to take you into now what you can do with the digital task player, and we'll look at a different lesson section for that. So I'm going to head back to Ellii here, back to our lesson sections, and I want to share with you a lesson from our discussion starters lesson section. And you can see here, this is one of that I have pinned because I come back to it often. So I could find it here, front and center under topic based, or since I come back to it, I've got it pinned, I can find it there. And I'll click in here. Now, discussion starters are, again, fabulous for high school and adults about topics that are being discussed in our world today. You'll see here there's 179 lessons in this section. And of course, you can scroll through if you would like and check them all out. We also have these category tags up here at the top. So if you know of something that you want to teach already or a general topic, you can click on the category tag there. You also have the ability to level here. So if I'm teaching an advanced class or a high intermediate class, I can choose those tags here. I'll take this off for now, but just know you can also categorize and filter by level within a lesson section. So let's say I'm working on soft skills. I could click on soft skills here, and it takes me to all of the lessons related to soft skills. And maybe I've already done a couple of these lessons, but perhaps I'm intrigued by this growth mindset lesson. I'll click into it. And again, you're going to see that PDF option and that launch tasks option. One thing to note about our materials on Ellii that I forgot to mention is majority of our content is available both as a PDF printable and digitally. Now, there are some exceptions to that, like our That's News to Me lesson section, or some of our newer content that we're releasing. We release the PDF later on. PDFs take a lot of work and time to develop, and so we want to make sure that we're developing them properly. And so that's why you might see sometimes it's only available as one or the other. But if you see something on the platform that you were like, man, I wish this was available as a PDF, please write to us. We take that into account. We can't make any promises, but we love to hear from you, and you can reach out to us at hello@ellii.com. But let's take a look at this lesson now. We already looked at the PDF side of things with that first 5 lesson. Let's take a look at the digital side of things. So I'm going to click Launch Tasks here. This takes me into the digital task player. And now what we're looking at right now is the teacher side of things. So if you're displaying this in class or sharing your screen like I'm doing right now, this is what you would see for a lesson. And this is very similar to what students would see in their platform if you assign this to them digitally. So you'll see this lesson starts off with a video here to get their wheels turning. A lot of our discussion starters start off with a video, and they're a really great way to kick off class or the topic and then some questions to think on, maybe think, pair, share, or putting students in small groups. From there, you'll see a vocabulary preview task. Now, this task is a very common task that you'll see in Ellii. It's vocabulary matching. Sometimes it's terms to pictures or definitions to pictures. Sometimes it's definitions to terms. I'm just doing it randomly here because I want to show you these types of tasks are instantly graded and students get instant feedback. So I know we're in the teacher's platform right now, but if students were to do this task, they would get those instant results. You as the teacher wouldn't need to grade things like that. They can review their answers, and then they can also try again. So kind of a great way for students to stay interactive, personalized. They can get that feedback instantly. The next thing I want to show you is within this reading. And I know this is a discussion starters lesson, but majority of our lessons at Ellii cover all 4 skills in some way. So this is a reading to kick off before students start discussing the topic. And we're in the digital side of things, and so this reading is available in the PDF. But one thing I want to note in the digital task player is that we have something integrated here called the Immersive Reader. And it's an accessibility tool made by Microsoft. And I feel like not a lot of people know about it, and it's kind of hidden. So I want to show you where to find it. I won't pop quiz you right now. I'll just tell you. It's down in the right-hand corner with this little booklet and the sound icon, and that takes you into the Immersive Reader. Here you have a couple of different options with settings to help make this reading a bit more accessible for students. Down at the bottom, you can adjust the voice settings here. So you can speed up the voice. You can also change a male or female voice. I'm going to slow it down a bit. And then up in the right-hand corner, you have text preferences. This is where you can play with the text size here. You can also increase or decrease spacing. You can adjust the font and the color, some cool different things there. Next door, there's grammar options. And this is where you can divide it by syllable. And I saw a question come through the chat earlier. Maybe it was in the chat or Q&A. I think it was in the chat here. I have students who can read, but they have trouble with multi-syllable reading, and I would like to see what Ellii has that support that transition. I would recommend going into the Immersive Reader for these readings and turning on the syllables. That way it really breaks it down for them, and this is just another way you can support students. Another thing you can do in addition to breaking it up by syllable is identify the different parts of speech in different colors, which is kind of cool. Finally, with the reading preferences here, you can turn on line focus. And this is where you can choose, okay, I want to just show 3 lines at a time, or 1 line, or 5 lines. And so then when you're playing the audio here, it will take through and show the term that's being said at that time. So just another way to make it accessible for students. So you can use this in class live. Students also have access to Immersive Reader in their platform anytime there is a reading in the digital task player. And so again, you'll find that with that little book icon with the sound icon in front of it. I won't go through too in-depth here with the other tasks. You'll see there's comprehension, grammar, discussion, critical thinking. There's also some personal response. So I do want to highlight like this grammar practice task here is a long form writing task. This is one of the tasks that you as the teacher would need to grade and give feedback on to students. You can use the help of the Ellii bot if you would like, which you can set up, or you can do it yourself manually. Either way, if you have it on manual or suggested mode, you as the teacher would still need to approve that and update that feedback before giving it to students. Finally, one really cool task that I want to show you that's common in Ellii is our personal response task. This is where students read the prompt here or look at an image, depending on the lesson, and they record themselves speaking. And you as the teacher would listen to it. You can grade it and give them feedback. I know when I was a teacher, I had students in class that were super tight-lipped and did not want to share. And so it's really great to have this opportunity. Maybe if they're at home or, in a quieter space, they can open up and share their English knowing their teacher is the only one that's going to listen to it. So that's a pretty cool task. So this is also a task that would require you as the teacher to grade. So that's the digital side of things. Now let's say I'm ready I like this lesson. I want to assign it to my students. So before assigning anything to students, a couple of things need to happen. You need to set up a class and you need to have that student connected to your class. I'm not going to go too in depth into that today. I'm happy to send those links to our help docs of how to set up a class and invite students. But let's assume I've done that and I'm browsing the platform and I want to assign this growth mindset lesson. I simply click add to class and then I select the class that I want to save it to. Maybe that intermediate class, spring 2026. Here, I'm choosing where I want to put this in my lesson planner. Saved is like a bucket of materials that I maybe want to use in the future. Prepping would mean, okay, maybe in the upcoming weeks or week, I want to use this. And so I want to have it visible right in my lesson planner. Teaching would mean I instantly want to assign it to students. Let's put it in the prepping lane for now. We're going to come back to this lesson in just a moment. So don't forget about this growth mindset lesson. We'll take a look at the lesson planner in just a moment. But that is a little bit more about content and the lessons that you can have in Ellii. There's lots of different lesson sections here, and we don't have time to go through all of them, but I definitely recommend you explore here. One thing I will mention before we move on is that we have assessments here at Ellii. I clicked on the assessment genre, and if you use the CASA Steps practice tests in your program, if you're US-based teaching adult ed, you might use these. We have a listening test and a reading test for all of the levels. So that's something that's included in your Ellii subscription here that you can use to help students prepare. We also have other types of assessments. So if you're a private teacher or in a program that just needs to get a baseline for students and show progress, we've got an Ellii placement test and an exit test that you can use with your students. These are available as a PDF printable or can be assigned digitally in the platform. So I know that question comes up quite a bit. So that's a bit about content. The last thing that I'll mention before I show a couple of things with a lesson planner and reports is that you can, of course, search for items on the platform. And I didn't even mention the media gallery. See, there's so much to cover at Ellii, so you'll have to come back to our future webinars to see more. But I'll show you the search tool here, for example. If I search simple past, which was something I searched for before, you'll see all of our content comes up here, and there's 108 results for simple past. And you might say, well, I certainly don't want to scroll through all of these. You don't have to. You can find here, if you want a ready to teach lesson, you could click on lessons and resources and find some options that way. You could also maybe find a study pack, simple past study pack here that you could either pull materials from or assign directly to your students, and maybe even a course here. So simple past appears in these grammar courses here. So definitely use our search tool to help. We also have that media gallery, which I'll just briefly mention, of flashcard sets and videos that you can pull from where you can get content and assign it to your students. You can print out flashcard sets, you can show videos in class or add them to your lesson planner. But let's take a look at our lesson planner, and I want to make sure I have time for questions at the end and answering those questions that came through the chat. So to get to my lesson planner, I'll click up here on everything, and over on the left-hand side under planning and prep, I'll click classroom. And then I'll go to my intermediate class here, and I quickly saw a question that came through that I'll address right now. How can I delete a class? You just click these little three icons here, and you can click archive class, and that will remove it for you. So if I wanted to, for example, archive this grade 2 EL support class, archive class, you can still view data, but you won't be able to add students or assign materials. Any pending invitations, so if you've got any students waiting to be added to this class, will be canceled. And then students in this class won't be able to access any of their materials assigned to them in this class. So that's how you can delete a class, is archive it by clicking those three little dots there. But let's go into this intermediate class where I assigned that growth mindset lesson. And this takes us into the lesson planner here. You'll see three lanes: prepping, which is everything upcoming, not assigned yet to students; teaching, everything that students are currently working on their platform, their most current content; and then taught is everything we've already done. So this is like a bird's eye view kind of to help you stay organized here. Now with this growth mindset lesson, I can instantly assign it to students by just dragging it into the teaching lane. but maybe there's some changes. Maybe I want to edit this lesson. I can do that by clicking on the lesson card here. And then over on the right-hand side, there's this button, Edit Tasks. That will take me into the task list of this lesson, and I can remove anything that I don't want students to be working on at home, right? Maybe we did some of this in class already, and I don't need them to repeat it as homework. I can click Update, and now I know that students would only have access to those couple of tasks that I had toggled on there. Another thing I can do while I have this in the prepping lane is by clicking on the lesson card here, I can give a due date if I'd like. I can also write a note to students. I can also select who I want to assign this to. So if I've got a class of 30, maybe not everybody needs this growth mindset lesson. This is especially applicable if you're assigning workplace courses or you've got a multi-level class and you really need to differentiate. This is a great way that you can assign materials, courses, and lessons to particular students. So you'd click on the Students tab at the top, click on Some Students, and then you'd select who you want to assign this to in the class and click Save. Then a little student icon with a little graduation cap appears in the corner. And when you're ready to assign it, you can drag it into the teaching lane and you know those particular students will have access to that lesson. That tells me right there, okay, this lesson wasn't for everybody in the class. And let's say now I assign that growth mindset lesson. We were working on that simplicity lesson for a while, but I want it out of the way. I can just drag it into the taught lane and then it's out of the way and students will only see that growth mindset for those students that it was assigned to. So that's the basics of the lesson planner. One thing I will note is that there's this helpful watch tutorial button, which will definitely take you a little bit more in depth into what we just looked in today of how to use the lesson planner. So I really like that. If you need a quick refresher, once you set up your class, click watch tutorial and Ben will walk you through how to use the lesson planner. So that's a bit about staying organized on Ellii. A couple of things to note is that your grade feed here is where you will see any tasks that are open-ended writing and speaking tasks. You'll see I don't have anything for this class in particular, but I'm going to go to all of my classes here, which I think I have something for an ESL for nursing assistants. Yes. So one of my students for a different class had a personal response task, one of those speaking tasks from this burnout lesson. So I, as the teacher, need to grade it. You'll see here I have the Ellii bot turned on, and so I can see her transcription of what she said. I can listen to it, and then I see that suggested score from the Ellii bot of 98%. Now I, as a teacher, know my student best, and I think Henrania could have done a better job. I can adjust her score here. I can change this comment however I want. Maybe I want to say good answer instead of great answer. You know, whatever you want, you personalize it, you're the teacher. You can also record a message to Hermania and she can listen to it in her platform. So I'm ready, I'll send that off. So that's how you grade speaking and writing tasks in the platform, is using the grade feed. Now we are currently at 11:38 my time, which means we've got about 7 minutes left. And I really want to make sure I have time to answer the questions that came through the chat and the Q&A. So I'm going to reference back there and make sure that I've answered all of those. I'm going to first start in the chat here. About the broadcasting area, is it no longer available? I'm not sure about that question if you mean like the launch tasks, but if you are in a lesson here, like discussion starters, and you're in this burnout lesson, you can open the PDF or you can launch the digital tasks and you can broadcast it on your screen. And then it says, why are some tasks editable and others aren't? All lessons can be edited if they're assigned. You can choose the tasks you want in the lesson planner to assign to students. I hope that that helps. You can't change the content that appears in a lesson, though, in any material. Can we dismember one classroom when I have different students parting ways? Yep, I showed you how to archive that class. So again, you'd go to your classroom, and then you can archive that class by clicking those three little dots here. You can also remove a student from a class. So if I'm in my intermediate spring class and I click on students here, I can remove a student from the class if I would like. Your last question here for Natalia, once the student has completed a certain lesson, is it going to show up as complete no matter which classroom he's placed at? it will only show up as complete for the classroom in which it was assigned. So for example, if I have a student in this intermediate spring class and in another one of my classes and I assign the same lesson, the student would need to complete that lesson and for both of those classes because, maybe he has a different teacher for those different classes. So it's only going to show up for the classroom in which he's assigned. Let's see, I think some other questions came through the Q&A. I have students who can read but have trouble with multisyllable reading. I think I answered that. Definitely check out the immersive reader and turning on the syllables in that. I think that will help. When I am searching for a lesson, for example, I'm going to start showing this right here. When I am searching for lessons, for example, the videos for sounds, etc., I have trouble locating them right away. How do I organize the lessons I need to access better? This is a great question. So for videos, anytime you need a video, I recommend checking out our media gallery, clicking on videos, and then along the side here, we have it broken down into different topics here, which I think you were looking for maybe pronunciation here. So this is a good option to create a folder. So let's imagine I want to keep track of this video and come back to it. I could click create folder here, make a new folder and write listening materials. And I can save it to that folder. And now whenever I come back to my folders by clicking up everything and then folders under planning and prep, I can click on that folder and I will have those materials ready to go. So definitely recommend once you see something on the platform, save it to a folder. Let's see, number 3, students who come from Asia have trouble accessing the Ellii class that I make for them. Any tips on making that easier? I think if you have a specific question about a student account that's having problems getting connected to your class, please reach out to us at hello@ellii.com and we can take a look. But I think I would need a little bit more information to answer your question accurately. And then I would love tips on preparing people for the citizenship exam. So we have US citizenship prep, which I can show you. I'm not sure if that's exactly what you were referring to is for the United States, but I can show you where to find those study packs. Those are under everything and then in study packs here. And then you can categorize here to US civics and citizenship. And this will take you into our different study packs that we've been working on updating, improving, and really building out this library with all of the changes happening in the US for citizenship, that whole process. So definitely check out our study packs here. I'll click into one to just show you. Groups of lessons, videos, that can help prepare your students. So you can use these in class or assign to them. I hope that helps. And then let's see here. I see another question come through. How do the Ellii levels correlate with the ACTFL A1, A2 here? I'm not sure how they correlate with the ACTFL levels. I'm not sure, so I can't answer that question, but I'm going to make a note of that. And then I see your name, Cassandra Hethen. I could reach out to you individually if I come across anything on that. I will take a look. And then let's see here. What lessons would you recommend for business English learners? So we have some business English materials in our workplace courses. So I'll show you that. And I will display this question here. For business English learners, I would definitely go to our courses and study packs and then filter down to workplace. Here you'll see we've got a course here, functional business. I would recommend checking this one out. I've never taught a business for English class before, but I would love to hear your thoughts on this if you check this out and use this with your learners. So again, this is a course, so there's a mid-course assessment and a final assessment, and you can add it to your class, or if you want to just keep track of it, save it to a folder. I hope that helps. Another question, I didn't find anything on medical terminology. Do you think you'll add something soon? Prefixes, suffixes, and roots. So I think this is a suggestion for content. I can show you what we have currently in the courses and study packs for workplace, which was where we were just at. I would say checking out our healthcare vocabulary. These are pretty basic introductory lessons, but I see that your question is around prefixes, suffixes, and roots. Please reach out to us, hello@ellii.com, with this content recommendation. If this is something you need, we can take it into account when we're creating new content. Thanks for that suggestion. Just taking a look if there's other questions here. Workplace materials are added. Awesome. Once students create an Ellii account, then they can receive the assigned lessons. What is the process for students setting up an account? Is there a video describing this process? Yes, so you would need to invite students to your class. The first step is creating a class, and then they need to get an account, which you can create for them, or you can invite them to join. And I'm going to quickly show you those different options. And then in the follow-up message that I send out today, I will outline those different help docs. So I'm going to click on Classroom here, and I'll go to this intermediate class, for example. Then I click on Students, and here are the different options. You can invite students via class code, where they join with this QR code, email. You can manually create their accounts, either with a key code or creating a username and password, or if you already have other students set up that you want to add to the class, you can add them that way. I will definitely share those materials with you in this follow-up message here. And then I'll also share that you can find our help docs on our platform. Down at the bottom of the screen under support is help docs. And that's where you can find, how to navigate the platform, how to do different things, different functionalities. So under getting started, I would definitely recommend checking out this How to Use Ellii teacher training module. This will share with you how to create classes, invite students, how to navigate the content, and gives you step-by-step with videos of these processes. So I will send this along to you because we don't have time to cover all of this today, but this teacher training module in our help docs will be extremely helpful as you're getting started with Ellii. Awesome. I think I might have gotten all of the questions here. Oh, I see here, Judy, I have a subscription from one of the school districts I work for, but not another. This other told me they can't afford it. I'm looking up for paying out of pocket for a personal subscription, and my question is, will I be able to play this at a different school district site? So yeah, if you have your own personal account, Judy, you can use it in your class at your school, of course, pending that if there's any approval process for content that you're using or websites that you're navigating. But from our end, if you have an individual subscription and you're using it for yourself to teach at a school with your students, absolutely. Yeah. Okay, I think I got all of the questions here. Fabulous. So a couple of other things as we're wrapping up. I know we're a bit over time. I do want to share that we have a group trial request form linked at the bottom right here. So if you're part of an organization and you want to try out Ellii with your school and see if it works for your program, we offer a free 2-month trial. So if you want to fill out this form for an organization account, please reach out to us that way. So with Ellii, it's unlimited students, unlimited classes for organization accounts, and access to all of our materials on the platform. It's $250 per month. We don't price per teacher. So that's what to expect for an organizational plan. If you're an individual looking to get your own account, it can be as low as $14 per month if you pay for the annual subscription. And then you get 35 student accounts. So there's a couple of different options depending on your needs. And so that group trial request is only for organizational accounts. I also post here this webinar survey at the bottom. Please let us know what you thought of today's webinar, what you want to see in the future. We really value your feedback. So if you want to click that link to take that quick survey, it'll just take a couple of moments. We really, really appreciate it. And then finally, I'm also going to show at the bottom of the screen here our Ellii webinars page, which is where you can find all of our upcoming webinars. And I know we have, I'm not sure if we have another one this week. Let's take a look. Next one is going to be May 6th, a content overview May 12th. And then we've got some Become an Expert as well. And we have an Ask Us Anything session, which is on Wednesday with Tara and Rachel. And so if you have any questions about Ellii, especially related to content, please join our Ask Us Anything session. I'm going to put that survey back up on the screen here if you're able to take a few moments to do that. And I'm just going to double check the chat here before I finish up here. And then I think I answered all of the questions. Great. Well, again, thank you so much for joining in on today's session. I really appreciate it, and I hope to see you next time. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Ellii.